It very well might be the absolute worst movie I've ever seen in my life. It was exhausting. It was fucking exhausting to watch that movie, dude. I watched it for like an hour and a half, and then I checked to see how much time was left in the movie, and I'd only been watching it for like 15 minutes. And the run time's like 100 minutes.
All right. Big is good.
Welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast. I'm an Adja from the Slice and Nose Studios. I am Mayor Dave Badeaux of the city of Brainerd, and with me, as always, is my brother.
Nine today.
Nine today. Say nine today.
Nine today.
Nine today. All right, well, that's going to be weird because we're going to say it, then we're going to say it again. Anyways, welcome to the podcast, Gabriel Johnson.
Thank you, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I wonder how well those play out, those whole bits with Scott when the episode starts.
It's what brings the listeners back.
I think it is. I think they're literally coming back just to see what he's going to say next.
Totally ate.
We are back with the second half of the Be Kind Rewind 1996. So should we get started? You guys ready?
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Be Kind Rewind 1996, part 2. So let's get started right away with the top grossing films of 1996. Are you guys okay with that?
Yes.
Heard of them?
Yeah, so I thought it would be a fun way to start. We've never actually done that. We've never went back and pulled up the actual numbers from the movies. It's interesting because I had never really thought of this, but when you say the top 4 grossing films of 1996, that implies a window of 1996. So from January to December, but a lot of movies come out in December.
And Christmas, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a weird way of any movie that comes out in December 1995 isn't going to be a top grossing for 95 or 96, and then the same for in 96. If you come out in December 96, you're probably not going to be on there. Toy Story was a great example. Toy Story is way down on the list of 96, but came out December of 95. However, the top 4 grossing films from the year 1996, Independence Day.
Heard of it.
ID4, which I think is great.
Deece.
Twister, which I was really surprised by.
Game over, man.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Yeah, literally. No longer with us.
Hey, I think this guy's a couple cans short of a six-pack.
Mission Impossible and The Rock. The Rock.
Okay.
So we threw this out to our listeners on Facebook and on our other social medias. I was surprised. At first, Twister jumped right to the top and then fell down a little bit. Independence Day came out strong, but then overwhelmingly, The Rock seems to be the one that people mentioned as of the top 4 of those, which movie they would like to go back to. So do you guys remember the movie The Rock?
Use that Nick Cage gif all the time.
which particular
which
one?
The one where he blows his hair in the wind on the plane.
Incorrect. That is from Con Air.
Con Air. Damn it. I don't use any Nick Cage gifs then.
Con Air, I believe, is also Jerry Bruckheimer. I would assume. Feels very Jerry Bruckheimer. It feels Michael Bay-ish as well. So it's got to be one of the two. But how do you feel about The Rock?
The Rock is Jerry Bruckheimer?
No, that's Michael
The Rock
Bay.
is Michael Bay.
So Jerry Bruckheimer is a producer.
Oh.
Jerry
okay.
Bruckheimer. So Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Samson, I believe it's Samson.
Samsonite. Swami.
Samsonite. I was way off.
They were a duo, and they were Top Gun as well as some other films. They were together on Bad Boys as producers, gave Michael Bay his first shot with Bad Boys, and then convinced him, hey, let's roll it back and let's do another film. And so he came back for The Rock, which is only his second film that he ever directed. So lots of explosions, lots of Michael Bay-esque stuff, but a good film. What do you guys think about that? do you think about The Rock?
Welcome to The Rock.
I got a fun fact about The Rock.
Let's hear it.
Somebody submitted a scene from the movie to the intelligence community in Britain, and they thought it was real, and they thought it was in Iraq, and they thought Saddam Hussein was producing chemicals of whatever, chemical weapons. Yeah, chemical weapons. So they gave that info to the U.S., and we jointly decided to invade Iraq because of the movie The Rock.
Like 6 years later?
No, the next year. It was 6 years later. It was 2002. Somebody shared the clip with
Okay.
Britain, and then we invaded in like 2003. So that was like it. All they needed to see was the chemical weapons in those glass vials.
So the second it hit DVD.
Yeah. And it turns out you can't store chemical weapons in glass vials. So if you would have asked any chemical weapons expert, they would have said, no, that's bullshit. But the government didn't.
It would have been way better if that scene with Colin Powell, where he's in
the beads
in Congress,
Pulls out the deadly anal beads.
just rocks him back and forth a little bit. That changes history. That's freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
I wonder how many times that actually happens. It has to happen more often than not.
Yeah, they're just regular people.
Oh yeah, and regular people are dumb. I mean, us included.
Yep, very, very dumb.
Pretty dumb. That's amazing. Part of the reason we attacked Iraq is because of The Rock. Yeah,
Should have called it The Rack.
You should have called it The Rack. Yeah, Scott, what's your take on The Rock?
It's been a very long time since I've seen it, but I believe that I like it.
I remember from the time frame freaking loving it.
Yeah.
You know, it is pretty much nonstop. Even when they're, introducing Sean Connery, an old man, it's this camera zooms in. It's all got the constantly coming at you with drums in the background or, the soundtrack. Loved it then. Went back and watched it a few years ago. Still a great movie. It is Michael Bay. You know what you're signing up for. It is Michael Bay. But it's a lot of fun. I also love Sean Connery. So,
Well, yeah.
Yes, you do. And I love Nick Cage, so I just don't know which movies are which.
it's a good combination. An interesting film. Did very well. I think it doesn't get as much praise now, and a part of that reason's got to be because of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It's got to be. It's got to be because when you throw out The Rock,
it's hard to search for it.
I was going to say it's got to be part of the reason. Mm-hmm. It's got to be in today's world. When The Rock is now not The Rock.
No.
So, very interesting. They decided to film it on Alcatraz. So Alcatraz is owned by the National Park Service. It is a bird sanctuary.
Oh, what?
A bird sanctuary. So.
Seagull shitting spot?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
What kind of birds?
I'm sure there's a puffin or something.
Or did they just stop using it and then the birds took over?
Yeah, oh,
and they were like,
absolutely.
that's where the birds live.
That's what always happens. So, there is that bird right there with the yellow beak and the red hair. That is the red hair.
We can't maintain the building. That bird is there. We gotta let it go.
But they make a ton of money off of tourism, obviously, for this place. It goes directly to the National Park Service, and that's how they convinced them to let them film there, where they said, think about how much more money you're going to make from tourism because we came and shot this movie here. But I think it's hilarious that they had to have a person on staff that was the bird specialist that would direct them where they could and could not shoot their guns.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, he's over there now. You can't shoot that.
We gotta wait
Just
for the bird.
Just the one bird. You don't see him for a couple of days. You're like, oh shit, stop. He's back.
Well, and of all people to direct a film, you brought the guy that just blows shit up. And then we're like, be careful of the birds. So, anyways, The Rock.
You sure you're ready for this?
I'll do my best.
Your best. Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and f the prom queen.
Carla was the prom queen.
Really?
Second, the number 2 on that list is Twister. I think we can skip over Independence Day. It's a great movie. It's still a lot of fun to watch. You've got 2 combos in there of the Slap himself, as well as I want to
Goldblum?
I wanted to say Malkovich, and I was like, that's not right. But yeah, Goldblum. I think we should go back to that movie another time. It is the number 1 grossing film.
Give Pullman his due. Best president ever.
Best president ever, for sure, in ID4.
The best presidential speech in any movie
of any
ever
of history,
Or in real life.
Yeah.
of real life, of real life, of real
best
life.
speech ever.
Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
But let's go to Twister real quick. Do you guys mind?
I do not.
Plot twist.
So I was surprised at how many people came out of the woodwork for Twister right away. My fiance, she said of those films, Twister is the one for her. I think it's an okay movie.
It's definitely the movie that most people have seen because
Yes.
it played for like 24 hours straight on
Yes.
TBS or TNT back in the day.
100%. That film, whereas The Rock was not doing that.
No.
Twister was on television nonstop. It's okay. It's a fun movie.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's got a decent little plot to it. I like it's a married couple that is trying to get divorced, but yet the thing that held them together was Twisters, and now here they are back. It's the storm of the century.
And they only got liability on the pickup truck.
But I thought there was some fun stuff with that. I went back and was watching some behind the scenes stuff. Amazing. So The Rock, very little behind the scenes stuff. Twister, oh my God, it is just nonstop. That all I'm pretty sure all they did was shoot behind the scenes stuff and then put it together and make a film out of it. But some really interesting things from that film. They actually got a jet engine from a 707 and mounted it on the back of a semi-trailer and just aimed it at the actors.
And just shot the semi-trailer into space.
Somehow it doesn't, because I've seen the rig and it's a semi, and when they're driving down the road in a pickup, they're pulling the pickup behind this thing that's just literally a jet engine shooting at them. And I don't even understand how the physics of that work. You'd have to make some change to it.
You don't put it at full throttle.
Well, I would assume you don't put it at full throttle, but somebody did. It's you. Everyone.
You have to.
You give me
You
a
have
fan.
to.
You give me a fan, and you put a van behind it, and I'm going to see if we can't knock that van over. So for sure somebody did. But I thought that was pretty crazy. They also couldn't really figure out how to make hail work, so they got these giant blocks of ice. And then we're literally doing like a wood chipper of giant blocks of ice and shooting that at the actors as well.
Like through the jet engine?
Yeah, well, no, it was a separate.
I just dropped the ice in the turbine and let it rip.
Yeah. I used to do a similar thing with my ceiling fan and Legos.
It had to have been fun to film while you're getting pummeled by chunks of ice as well as a jet engine. So the other thing I found really interesting about that in watching the behind the scenes stuff was that they had this whole, I think there was like 4 different 20-minute things. I'm assuming a lot of it was because of the Weather Channel and stuff. But they had one that was showing the real storm watchers. And so we had talked about the storm watchers currently.
Yeah.
What is it? Dominator 3?
The Dominator 3. Reed Timmer is his name. And he's getting great footage of tornadoes.
So when you originally said that, I was like, what a joke. The Dominator 3, it's going to be a freaking, pickup with, like some armor drilled on the side.
It's going to look like a LARPer.
Yeah, literally like a LARPer. So when you showed that to us, I was like, oh, that's actually pretty legit. It actually lowers itself down to the ground, does the thing where it stakes itself down so it doesn't flip over. A lot of high-tech stuff going on in that thing. Not the case for 1995 Storm Chasers. So the Dominator 3 currently, is what you got. But back in 95, evidently you just had a Ford Tempo in the van from Home Alone. That's basically what you were chasing storms with. They put a tripod on top of the Ford Tempo.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where the one guy's like, "Let's get out of here.
Get us out of here.
And I very much believed him that he was ready to get out of there. Also,
Drive something with the most side surface area you could possibly get.
it's just a square van.
Yeah.
It's literally just a square van. So they had that baby going as well. Evidently the scale that they use for determining the severity of the
EF scale.
Evidently, all I wrote is
It's like fajita.
all I wrote was the fajita scale.
Yeah, the vagina scale.
So it's the vagina scale.
6,000 chicken fajitas.
So that's all I wrote was the vagina scale. So I thought that was interesting. And fun fact, as I'm watching this, they show 3 clips of home movies of like real tornadoes. And the first one is Brainerd, Minnesota, 1991. Says it right on there. Except they spelled Brainerd wrong.
Brainerd.
Yeah. Fun fact for those of you who are not aware, we are from the city of Brainerd. So,
Are you sure it was Brainerd? Maybe it was actually Brainerd.
is there a Brainerd, Minnesota? Because it says Brainerd, Minnesota.
I don't know.
We had some
every
pretty
city
epic tornadoes in 91.
Yeah. Most of them. The first was the Minnesota Twins. Just a whirlwind of a team. All right, so let's move on. It's there. It's there. Do you want to take a chance so early? We're only halfway through the episode.
I'll give you.
You don't want to jump on the. All right, let's go with.
I'll just give you a boo.
Okay, I'll accept the boo. So the other movie in there is Mission Impossible. I love Mission Impossible, but we'll skip it because nobody mentioned Mission Impossible.
Never even seen it.
Yeah, so we'll skip it. We can talk about Mission Impossible 2 when it comes out because that is dog shit. The only bad Mission Impossible movie.
What about Mission Impossible 3?
Mission Impossible 3 is great. Great. I actually really
I thought we
like
weren't
that.
going to talk Mission Impossible.
Okay, let's move on.
We're not. We're talking Mission Impossible 2 and 3.
So also in 1996, first of all, 1996, just a banger of a year for movies. Just a absolute banger of the year for movies. But I've got Happy Gilmore written down. What do you got? What do you got for Happy Gilmore? Let's talk about it.
Easily the best Adam Sandler movie.
Yes, agreed.
And just a great comedy. Absolutely. A lot of people hate on Adam Sandler, and rightfully so these days, but there's a lot of people that just like won't watch any Adam Sandler movie. It's like, no, you need to watch Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, you're missing
Happy
out.
Gilmore is a fucking great movie.
Yep. We talked briefly before we got started, and my take on Adam Sandler is that I do think he's funny. I think his SNL characters were fun for what they were, but he's the worst at doing voices, just the absolute worst. And so any movie where he tries to do a voice, which is all of them, by the way, very rare are you just getting Adam Sandler.
Yeah, Opera Man was cute on Weekend Update a couple times. You can't base a 40-year career on it.
Yeah, thank you, please. Just, you're quirky enough. Just be quirky. And he's got some great films as well, but Happy Gilmore is the best of his comedy chops. And I actually really, really enjoy it. I think it's a great film. I think it is fun. It's funny, and it holds up.
Mm-hmm.
So
It was edgy as a kid, like punching Bob Barker in the face.
I will
does
say
that?
that's my least favorite part of that movie. It's hilarious. You got knocked out by Bob Barker. But the movie ends there in real life.
Oh, yeah.
In real life,
absolutely.
you get knocked out on a golf course by Bob Barker. Nobody ever hears from you again.
Yeah.
You go into hiding and shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when
You don't come back and play the next day. And just nobody talks about it. It's never brought up ever again. But you got knocked out cold by Bob Barker.
it's a
I
feel
never considered
it's
that.
a feel good story about a guy that is making his way up, and the second you get knocked out by Bob Barker, you have reached as high as you're going, and everyone now is moving on. That is very true.
Now you've had enough, bitch.
Yeah, you've ruined it. Terrible. Moving on. Also from the comedy sector from 1996, one of my favorites, the movie Kingpin.
Love Kingpin. Love a good bowling movie. We'll just establish that. I'll put that stake in the ground right now.
Okay. Can you name another bowling? Well,
Big Lebowski.
The
Come
Big
on.
Lebowski. Okay.
Come
all right.
on.
All right. Yep.
Okay, now
soon
can
as
you
I-
name? Now
Yeah.
can you name another?
As soon as I said it, I looked at you and was like, "Well, I could name one right now."
Bowling for Columbine?
Ooh. Nope.
It's got bowling right in the name.
Nope. All right. Let's talk Kingpin.
So, Farrelly Brothers' second film, follow up to their Dumb and Dumber in '94.
Yeah, which I found crazy. It feels pretty well. It's pretty clean. It's a pretty clean movie in terms of the style of it and whatnot. For a second film, I'm very surprised by it. But if your first movie is Dumb and Dumber,
You know what you're doing.
you know what you're doing.
Yeah, so it stars Woody Harrelson as Roy Munson,
Yes.
Bill Murray as Big Ern McCracken,
Yep.
and Randy Quaid as Ishmael, the Amish guy, whatever he is.
Yes. An acceptable role for Randy Quaid.
Fun fact, they wanted to cast Chris Farley.
Interesting.
Yeah. But he was busy with Black Sheep.
Okay.
They casted Randy Quaid. They didn't know who was going to play Big Ern.
Okay.
Randy called his buddy Bill,
Oh, really?
brought Bill Murray in. Bill Murray read it, loved the script, showed up on his first day and said, I got it. I got it covered.
Really?
Yeah. So he improvised damn near every single line in that movie.
I would say that without him, that is not a as memorable of a movie.
No, that's probably my favorite role he plays in any movie ever.
Absolutely. It is the best part of the entire movie.
It's a bowling movie.
Yes.
So they tried to teach them how to bowl.
Okay.
Woody Harrelson was so fucking terrible that not even a bowling coach could get him to look like he knew what he was doing. They had to use a stunt double to roll the fucking ball.
Roll the ball.
Yes. But Bill Murray picked it up.
Okay.
At the end of the movie in the national championship,
when he
when he had to bowl the turkey to end it to win it, they calmed the crowd down and said it's going to take him about 15 rolls here. Just clap after the first one, get a little raucous after the second, and go crazy when he finally gets the third one. Bill Murray, 1, 2, 3, bowled the turkey. The crowd just went fucking nuts.
And of course he whips around with the hair.
The hair flapping all
man.
over. It was majestic.
There are things in movies that become characters. His hair in that movie is a character.
Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely a character that has its own arc, literally at the end. Phenomenal. He nails that role so well. And I would argue that Woody Harrelson does a great job as well. He starts off as the young and hip kid, and then once there's the turn at the beginning, he's just gross. They did a great job of making him just a likable, gross guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally got Munson. And Randy Quaid. I mean, I think all three of the main actors, just perfect roles for them.
Yep.
They all did a great job on it.
Yeah, getting Munsoned is something that needs to come back. That absolutely should still be in the lexicon. Why people are not getting Munsoned, I can't tell you.
People are getting Munson. They just don't say they're getting Munson.
They're not being termed as Munsoned. But yeah,
What's getting Munsoned?
anytime
Anytime you f something up really bad.
yeah,
Gotcha.
up the creek without a paddle. You're getting Munsoned. And it's all because it's like the best joke of the film. How do you not remember that? He's like, what did you say? Munsoned down the middle of nowhere.
Even the Amish guy.
How do you not remember that? Yeah, great film. One of my absolute favorite roles for Bill Murray. And it holds up. There is a couple weird things in there, which is the case with all Farrelly Brother films. There's a couple of weird instances. The big one that stuck out to me is at the very, very end when they say bye, whatever his name is, and then they say bye whore, So they've just got this cast of ragtag people they found from, down the street at the farm, and they have them say that. And it just comes off so cheesy, and it is just a throwaway line in the movie, but there's always a few of those things in their movies that don't quite line up right. But that film is great.
I rewatched it yesterday, and I was pleasantly surprised at the end of the movie. They rolled the credits to Blues Traveler and some beautiful harmonica.
It has been said. specifically on the last episode.
From 1996.
From 1996. There is harmonica and there's shitty harmonica. I sent you the video of Bob Dylan.
Yep.
For fuck's sake, tell me that is not dog shit. I don't.
It's not dog shit.
I'm not saying that Bob Dylan is dog shit. Great storyteller. Very, very interesting little, things he's got going with the guitar.
Nobel laureate.
He literally stands there with a harmonica in his mouth and breathes. And people are like, oh, yes. Oh, play it again, Bob. Play it again. Get the harmonica
Such
out
emotion.
of there. Oh, get the harmonica out of there, and then I'm sold. But I love that the movie ends with Blues Traveler. And that's a good place to end with that one. So let's move on from one comedy to another. Gabe, you wanted for some fucking reason to talk about the movie Big Bully.
Big Bully, 1996. Why wouldn't you talk about it? So I tried to look up a terrible movie from 1996 and found this one. Watched it. It was terrible. But it was it Tom Arnold and Rick Moranis. Tom Arnold was a childhood bully. Rick Moranis moves away as a kid, moves back as an adult, and the bullying recommences. And they end up making up at the end of the movie, and it sucks. $15 million budget to put this together.
Oh, wow.
Set in Hastings, Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Okay. There's so many movies from this time frame that are shot in Minnesota. We got to, whatever we were doing for tax breaks, we got to get back to it. $15
million. Guess what it did in the box office? $2 million. That movie sucked. But it was Rick Moranis's last theatrical release.
Yeah.
Like for our childhood, for our age, Dave, somebody who's 40 years old, growing up with Ghostbusters and Strange Brew and
Honey, I Shrunk the
Brewster's
Kids.
Millions, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, just Spaceballs, like how many movies he was in. And then just at like 43 years old, 96, his wife had passed away and he decided to go home and take care of the kids and not leave them alone. So it's an admirable decision, but he was in everything and then just disappeared.
He was one of those actors that was well cast in every role that he was in, it felt like as well. And I don't know. I watched Big Bully like 2 years ago and I didn't make it through it. So I can't tell you if
you tried watching that for no reason.
Yeah.
I love
because
of Rick Moranis. I love pulling up movies. Like Amazon's a great
Little Giants.
Yeah. Amazon's a great service for this because they've got the most bizarre movies you'll ever find. But I like to just pull up like a year or something and just scroll through and see if there's films that I haven't seen. I love 80s movies that way, but I had found this one. I couldn't get through it. It's that terrible. However, Rick Moranis, you are absolutely correct. He was in everything. And I can't think of a really bad role for him. He just seemed to
Little
fit.
Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, he fits so perfect in all those roles. Just a quirky dude coming out of the Canadian SNL, the Canadian version of Second City, I believe it was. And just a really funny dude. Very enjoyable. And yeah, that's his last film.
He has signed on Walt Disney Studios.
Oh, God.
To do Shrunk.
Oh, God. Not even...
That's just what it's called, just Shrunk.
It's an installment in the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids series, but that's the working title of it is Shrunk.
You can't say honey in 2023, Scott. You can't say honey. It's impossible.
Yeah, they should just call it Shrinkage.
That's pretty awesome. I love Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. We've talked about this before. We had the Disney Channel, and they did just nonstop behind the scenes stuff. And it was one of the first things I was like, oh, I absolutely want to be involved in movies because of how cool that looks. Like actually how you make stuff. Very, very interesting. From one shitty movie to another, Scott, you have told the audience that you will watch Leprechaun 4. I believe it is semicolon or colon Leprechaun 4
in space.
not even leprechauns in space. Just
Leprechaun 4 in space.
Oh God,
space.
Oh God. How good is it?
It very well might be the absolute worst movie I've ever seen in my life. It was exhausting.
High praise.
It was fucking exhausting to watch that movie, dude. I watched it for like an hour and a half, and then I checked to see how much time was left in the movie, and I'd only been watching it for like 15 minutes. And the runtime's like 100 minutes.
So give me the rundown of.
I don't know, dude. I don't know what happened in this movie.
Well, read us the plot. Read us the back of the box. Because here's the twist of this. It's 1996. You have went into the movie theater, or excuse me, the movie store, and you are going to rent a movie, and you have seen the first 3 Leprechauns, and you say, you know what? Let's test it out. And you flip the back of the box around, and what does it say?
It says, resurfacing on an alien planet, the Leprechaun, Warwick Davis, abducts a member of the world's royalty, Princess Tsarina, in an attempt to wed her and become the supreme ruler. Unfortunately for the diminutive schemer, well-armed soldiers arrive to foil his plans. Not easily defeated, however, the feisty Leprechaun continues to battle the warriors while also contending with the warped scientist known as Dr. Mittenhand.
Dr. Mittenhand.
Oh God, please tell me he has a mitten. Please tell me he has a mitten.
No, he only has like 30% of a body. So he's like mostly washing machine from the chest down, and he's a Nazi.
Oh, okay.
And for the majority, the first part of the movie, you only see him on screen where people are trying to do stuff, and he just like shows up on a television screen and just is a Nazi. It says, "I see you." It's so weird.
Well, I'm not gonna lie.
Did you make it all the way through?
I did. I watched the whole fucking movie, and it got weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder. And I don't really understand what was the point, what the plot was, why the Leprechaun was on this spaceship to...
Did it start in space?
Yes. It just started on a ship, I think. I don't remember. It's so... I didn't think it was ever going to end. And I think it could have not ended.
It's still going.
It may not have ended.
It's still going.
It's just every next scene was like, well, now what's happening? And because it's a magical leprechaun that can like do whatever,
he can do whatever he wants.
The end of any scene could have been the end of the movie. And the end of the movie could have just been any other scene that they could have just gone into the next thing. It was such a fucking slog, dude.
So I think what's crazy about that is the first Leprechaun movie is just a small little slasher film.
Yeah.
It's bizarre,
right?
But it's not. I mean, it's
a cabin in the woods,
Yeah.
and there's a creepy leprechaun that
Yep.
wants his gold back that you accidentally stole, and he kills people.
Yep. And
Sure.
fun fact, it is Jennifer Aniston's first film, the first one. So you got that going for you. I just think it's crazy that how the fuck do you end up in space? Like, how
I don't
do you
know.
end up in space?
They don't tell you. It just is.
And the intergalactic lord's daughter, the princess of space. Oh, Jesus Christ!
And he wants to wed her so that he can be the king of something.
I'd rent this.
I wouldn't. Do not.
You have the moon landing, the American flag, and it says, "One small step for man, one giant leap of terror."
Oh yeah, see, they got people to buy this at the.
He's shooting lightning bolts out of his hands too.
Absolutely, why wouldn't he? He's the leprechaun, for crying out loud. I'm the leprechaun.
But there's so many things that just don't make sense. Like, he's a magic leprechaun, but for some reason he can't. Somebody like light something on fire, and he's like, "I'll get you yet." And then they go in another room, and you don't see him for a while. It's like, you're magic.
Do they ever circle back?
I don't know.
So I'm looking up the production company from this, and it is evidently Blue Rider Pictures. TriStar Trimark is the company that released it, but Blue Rider Pictures made this film, and it's mainly just a bunch of really crappy horror movies, i.e. Pinocchio the Revenge, Leprechaun 3, Leprechaun 4. I don't see the other Leprechaun movies on here, but like Night of the Demon. But then they were also responsible for 2003's Holes.
What?
With Shia LaBeouf.
It's like a normal movie.
Yeah.
There's not a single other movie in here that is normal, but they are responsible for Holes, 2003, which is crazy because you would think that would have gotten them into the realm of, like, most of these movies do not have, well, there's Rescue Dawn. That's not a terrible movie either. Most of these don't even have IMDb or Metacritic scores here. They're just nonsense movies. But yeah, they made Holes as well. So that's bizarre. And you say not worth watching.
Absolutely not. It was exhausting. I texted you guys right afterwards and I said, well, Leprechaun 4 was a miserable watching experience. I was miserable watching this movie, dude. I was like, what have I done? What have I done? I think it might be the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen a movie called, what's it called? American Movie?
American Movie is a classic. Absolute classic.
So if you're going to put it in that class.
Just kidding. Yeah. I'm just kidding.
We're coming up on American Movie. Wasn't that 98? All right. So let's finish it off since we've talked about a couple crappy movies. Let's talk about a really good movie. And let's end this episode off with the 1996 absolute classic, the movie Fargo.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let's get your take on Fargo. Let's start with Gabe. Gabe, what's your take on
Absolutely
Fargo?
love the movie.
Yes.
Absolutely love the movie. Great story, great characters. I'm a big William H. Macy guy.
Yep.
I'm a big Steve Buscemi guy.
Yep.
Love the movie. Big Coen Brothers guy. Big Minnesota guy.
Big Minnesota guy. Yeah. Scott, take. Let's hear it. How do you feel about Fargo?
I've mentioned it before, but the very first time I ever watched that movie, I missed the first 5 minutes.
You had no idea.
So I didn't know that William H. Macy's character was in on it the whole time.
Which is gotta be confusing.
I was very confused. I couldn't figure out what the hell his motivation was.
Yeah, because
throughout the entire movie.
Because he's just a bumbling idiot.
Right.
But he constantly, the one thing, the subtlety of that movie and his character that is so great is that he bumbles and fumbles and then does a moment in each scene where he'll regather himself and then, okay, we're going this way now. And that's the best part of that whole character. Missing the part where that's what's happening is got to be just so confusing.
Very weird.
Yeah. I absolutely love the movie Fargo. One of those first examples of watching something and being like, oh, okay, there is a completely different style of movie out there. This is not The Rock.
This is art. Yeah.
But set in the wonderful city of Brainerd, Minnesota.
Heard of it.
So for those of you that are not aware, I am the current mayor of the city of Brainerd. That is the city in the movie in the movie Fargo, almost called Brainerd, but they thought it was a terrible name.
It would be confusing. Does it have an E or an A? I don't know.
Bernard? I don't know. But I will say this. At the time, there's a quote from the mayor, Bonnie Cumberland, in 1997, where she says, I don't know, a bunch of people who don't live here evidently like it, but for us, it's kind of an embarrassment. Bonnie is no longer with us. Bonnie, great individual, met her many times. The mayor of my childhood. But Bonnie, I am the mayor now. And this movie is fucking fantastic. But the one mistake we have made as a city is we do not have the statue of Paul Bunyan that says, welcome to Brainerd, home of Paul Bunyan.
Home of Paul Bunyan, babe, the blue wax.
Where is it?
I'm glad you asked that, Scott, because I don't think anyone really knows where it is. So if you do research for it on the internet, which I have done, as is one that the mayor should do for his hometown. In 2009, it was up for auction. It was being stored in a storage facility for the company that made the actual thing down in Minneapolis. This is 25 feet tall, by the way. So it's this gigantic statue. There's a picture of a local sculptor that is here in the area that is standing next to it. And this was in 2009 when it went up for auction. He did not purchase it. And he says in a little blog post that he has no idea why he didn't just purchase this thing. It went to a private collector of some sorts, went somewhere, and then was just gone forever again. And then in September of 2020, there is a photo on Wikipedia, I believe, It is just in the woods somewhere.
What?
Yeah, it's deteriorating in the woods somewhere.
Paul Bunyan in the woods?
Paul Bunyan in the woods. Shocking. But the actual statue from the movie Fargo is just in the woods somewhere as of 3 years ago. Since then, I at least have not found anything. So here's my ploy to the internet, okay? As the mayor of the actual city in the movie Fargo, please help me find the statue of Paul Bunyan and get it back to its rightful place. The town of Brainerd, Minnesota.
Here.
So if I do nothing else as a mayor, but
Which you're on pace to do.
which I am on pace to do.
Yeah, you're doing a great job so far.
So far, I have accomplished nothing. But if I accomplish this, I can tip my cap and ride off into the sunset. So yeah, it is somewhere in the woods somewhere. And I believe it's around here somewhere from what I've gathered. It hasn't went far. It's gigantic. You're not going to strap this thing to a trailer and drive it to New Mexico. I mean, you might. But yeah, there's a picture of it. And the picture, at least
I can see the Coen brothers doing that.
Potentially. But they have listed Minnesota as Siberia with family restaurants. So they're not necessarily looking back fondly on our area.
Well, the little guy, he was kind of funny looking.
In what way?
I don't know, just funny looking.
Can you be any more specific?
I couldn't really say. He wasn't circumcised.
Was he funny looking apart from that?
But let's talk about the film really fast. Let's end this episode off by talking about the film. I 100% love this movie. I remember watching it and thinking, like, there's a story being crafted. Like, you're watching things unfold, and it's very Coen-esque, where it starts off and they don't spend a lot of time just mulling around. Like, they do a really good job of get right to the point, right? I need you to kidnap my wife. They go kidnap the wife. Immediately starts going wrong. Immediately. And the way they weave the characters in and out is just fantastic. You look at Steve Buscemi's character, who's just a blabbermouth, and he's partnered with a dude that literally doesn't speak. And then the whole stress comes from the fact that this dude will not talk. That's just such an interesting dynamic.
And that other dude won't shut up.
He won't shut up. Yeah. And that then leads to the end of the film, as well. But I think all the characters are really, really well drawn out. It is very, very much Minnesota of 1996.
It was set in like 85 or 86.
I think it's 87, I think is what it is. And of course, the true story, right? Which I think is such a phenomenal thing, where people are like, you can't do that. And they're like, why can we not do that? It's our movie. We can do whatever. Once the movie starts, we can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Which I think is fantastic. But there's a scene in there where they go drive out around the lake, and there's those cabins that they're out there. And when you live in this area, I know those cabins. Like, I know not those specific ones, but that road that you drive down, and it's just all houses that are boarded up for the winter because everybody's, elsewhere, whether or not further down in Minnesota or further down in the United States. It's such an eerie little thing where you'd think, like, well, how do you put a dude in a wood chipper? Yeah, around there on that lake,
you're the only person on the lake.
You're the only person on the lake. Yeah. So it's just such an interesting dissection of our world. And I think it's interesting that people at the time around here, like, were offended by it. I never found offense to it because it's a caricature, right? The accent and whatnot. I don't hear it in our voices, but I know it's there. And you're Scott's wife.
She's got it good.
She's got it good. I do it from time to time. I have started saying a boot just as a joke, and now I say a boot.
Yeah, you threw my wife for a loop the other day.
Yeah.
She came into the kitchen. He said something about you saying a boot.
Yeah.
He had a really strong Minnesota accent. I said, what did he say? I said, did he say a boot? He's like, yeah. I said, yeah, he does that on purpose.
Yeah, I do that. Well, I used to do that on purpose.
Yeah.
It's now become a
I
part
like
of
a boot and oot.
Yeah, a boot and oot. Yeah, but
Are you ooting a boot?
yeah. But yeah, go. Let's just wrap this baby up on Fargo. Finish up. Like, how do you feel about just in general the whole film?
The one thing that really pisses me off is Margie Gunderson bought night crawlers for her husband to go ice fishing with in the middle of the fucking winter. There are no night crawlers. The ground is frozen.
are you finding these night crawlers? Very true. Very true. It would have been a Shiner or something along those lines. Yeah, I've actually never caught on to that. The one that bothered me at the time was they're eating Arby's.
Arby's?
There was
don't have an Arby's.
There was never an Arby's in Brainerd. That was the one where I was watching. I was like, we don't have an Arby's. And at the time, I wanted an Arby's.
We got one shortly there.
Well, I think if you are anyone that's interested in owning an Arby's, you see that film and you go, God damn it, there will be an Arby's. Mm-hmm. So the things that we got an Arby's, but we didn't get the damn statue back. So I'm making
Actually, Baxter got the Arby's.
Well, Baxter got the Arby's, but we don't. It's the same thing. We don't even count them. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for 1996 movies. It is a fantastic year of film. As always, we can't get through everything in one of these episodes, so we'll loop back around and get to some of these. We didn't talk about Space Jam.
Ooh,
yeah. We didn't talk. We mentioned Black Sheep. But we didn't talk about Black Sheep. There's tons of movies from 1996.
I think we covered Black Sheep the previous year, though.
Yeah, we talked about
Chris
Tommy
Farley,
Boy.
David Spade, and a road trip.
Yeah, we talked about Tommy Boy, which means we talked about Black Sheep.
I actually had somebody text me after that episode came out and said they 100% agree with my take that Tommy Boy and Black Sheep are the same movie. So thanks, Stunek.
Well, yeah, I can kind of agree to that, but Tommy,
The worst?
yeah,
Shut up. I shouldn't have said his name.
the worst Stunek gave you a hot take.
No, he agreed with mine.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, we're definitely going to give you points for that.
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back next week with the news once again, and then we will start bringing back into the end of the year here. So if you've got anything you'd like us to talk about, shoot it over to us on our social medias. Contact us individually, and you can find us. I shouldn't say this, but you can find my information on the Mayor of Brainerd, so you can send me an email right directly to the mayor. You could actually, and we've said this before, you can send things to the city of Brainerd. You could call into our city council meetings and make comments about our podcast as well. I would love that. So go ahead and do that if you please, or don't. Probably don't. But if you do,
we have to listen to it. We're legally obligated to listen to your comments.
All right. Thank you to the Boutros.
Yes.
And thank you to Gabe Johnson.
Thank you, Dave.
We will be back next week again with the news. And until then, we're done.
The end of the Leprechaun movie, the Nazi guy that was half washing machine eventually falls out of the washing machine, and then he just transforms into a giant spider creature, and he has
the giant spider Nazi.
Dude, it doesn't make any fucking sense, dude. He's like a mutant thing. I don't even know what the hell he's supposed to be because he's a scientist.
So was the washing machine containing his evil? And once he tipped over, it's like, aha!
Probably. But he I don't want to say he webs these people up. There's just one guy, really.
Sure.
And I'm pretty sure that it is the exact same material from the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Okay.
The fungus.
Oh, yeah.
I was watching. I was like, I've seen that before.
Okay.
I would not be surprised to find out that it is the exact same material.
Let's figure that out.
Yeah. But yeah, don't watch that movie.
I am now Mitten Spider.